Hospitals nationwide reported that they've run out of beds for the first time since COVID due to all the quarterback injuries this week. Kenny Pickett, Tyrod Taylor left the game with rib injuries. Matthew Stafford eviscerated his thumb. Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. Patrick Mahomes had the flu. Deshaun Watson was out. Desmond Ridder, well, Ridder just got benched. And meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers gets closer and closer to making an unprecedented recovery from his Week 1 Achilles tear. And yes, I do think that's because he's harvesting the ligaments of his fellow quarterbacks while they sleep. And yes, Davante Adams is in hell. Careful, Davante, don't slam that helmet too hard. You could find yourself in concussion protocol and then wake up with this haircut. I will reveal the biggest winners and losers from NFL Week 8 with a big emphasis and feature on whatever the fuck that was between the Giants and Jets, which in my opinion might actually, literally be the worst game of the year and maybe the decade. But first, we got the Blop 10 plays. It's like the top 10 plays, but it doesn't make sense. Coming in at number 10, Gene Steratore explaining to me, Brandon Perna, his mistakes from the Broncos-Packers game.
Brandon, it's Gene Steratore wishing you a happy 70th birthday, my man. So I decided to go out on a limb, on a very, very far-reaching limb, and I felt it was necessary to be held accountable.
Thanks to Packers fan Johnny Barks for getting this for my birthday. I wish I could get him a new quarterback for his. Number 9, he sounds like a jockey, and now I am convinced Eddie Pinero would be a Triple Crown jockey if he desired. Number 8, I don't usually discuss basketball here, but what the hell is this, Timberwolves Brazil? What the hell is this? Can we go 1 week without an atrocious officiating call? This is roughing the passer. Keanu Neal does not go high. He does not go low. He does not hit late. He does not land with body weight. And he still gets flagged for roughing. Congrats, Keanu. DM me and I will send you your very own bag of Fuck the Refs blend of coffee. Fuck all refs except for Gene Steratore. I love you.
And none of us are perfect. But part of the beauty that makes us all human is truthfully embracing our imperfections sometime.
Number 6, Jalen Ramsey gets a pick in his Dolphins debut. Just 3 days ago, Ramsey refuted an Adam Schefter report that he would play on Sunday. Maybe that's why Mac Jones didn't see him here. 5, Belichick losing his gourd. Microsoft Surfaces everywhere are shaking in fear, and lip readers everywhere are officially offended. Number 4, Julio Jones caught a touchdown in the year of our Lord, 2023. At this rate, I think the Vikings should give Matt Ryan or Phillip Rivers a call. Blop 3, maybe don't put Nelson Aguilar on the hands team for an onside kick. This is like asking Melvin Gordon to hold your newborn baby over an open flame while your marriage is also on the line. Number 2, CJ Stroud threading the needle on this pass. I've seen tighter windows on a submarine. Just kidding, I've never been on a submarine. Blop 1, Matthew Stafford with a messed up thumb, playing wide receiver on the 2-point conversion. And even injured, he gave more effort as a receiver than Jay Cutler. And my Blop 0, this sign that says, I just wanted sex for my birthday, but my wife just wanted to see Tyreek Hill. Just a strange sign to bring to a football game, and an even weirder thing to put on a broadcast. But I hope his wife had sex with Tyreek Hill or whatever she wanted. Now let's go back to Thursday night. Josh Allen played normal Josh Allen football. The Bills survived a late comeback attempt by the Buccaneers, who scored a touchdown with under 3 minutes remaining and nearly won on a Hail Mary attempt if only Chris Godwin had remembered that he was an eligible receiver. Loser, alleged Hall of Fame head coach Bill Belichick, never beating lefty QB Tua. Tua has never lost to Bill, which is crazy, but Tua currently also has a streak of 11 straight wins against Super Bowl winning head coaches. Belichick has always loved left-footed punters, so this has to drive him just insane. That Pats defense got diced up to the tune of 324 passing yards and 3 TDs from Tua. Tyreek Hill became the first wide receiver in the Super Bowl era with 1,000 yards in the first 8 games. Reminds me of when Terrell Davis had 1,000 yards in the first 7 games and 98 before he broke 2K. Lost in Hill's insane season so far was Jalen Waddle finally looking healthy and getting his first 100-yard day of the season. Waddle had 3 of these last season at the same time. Winning quarterback this week, I'm giving it to Dak Prescott. You're welcome, Scooter, who needed a big game and got one against the Rams. It was a full-on Dak attack, tossing 4 touchdowns to go with 323 total yards in the Cowboys' runaway victory. This was a Rams defense that allowed 4 passing touchdowns all season, and Dak just doubled that number for them. His first touchdown pass was to Jake Fergie, and it was a thing of absolute beauty, as was his escapability on his touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee led all receivers in yards this week with 158. Crazy that Sean McVay's firstborn son has never seen his father win a football game. Losing quarterback? Oh yeah. Oh, I don't get many chances to do this. So I'm giving the losing quarterback to Patrick LaVon Mahomes II. Yeah, I know he had the flu. You know who played through the flu and won? Michael Jordan. Just kidding. We know he was critically hungover.
I took offense to that.
Mahomes lost to the Broncos for the first time in his illustrious fucking career, which was also the first road divisional loss of his career. He did some cool Mahomes things, spinning around a billion times, converting big third downs, but he also fumbled once and threw a pair of interceptions that really turned the tide in this game. I don't think Mahomes played that bad, honestly, especially factoring in a late drop on a potential touchdown by Sky Moore. But not that bad is awful by Mahomes standards. And 9 points for the Chiefs offense is something we haven't seen since their Super Bowl loss to the Buccaneers. Of course, I did a full recap of that game in my new best game ever. Winning game, losing coach Ron Rivera as the Commanders fall to the Eagles. Now the Commanders had a 17-3 lead at one point in this game. Sam Howell, when not being murdered by defenders, proved he's still a promising young thrower of the football. Washington was in this game because of a couple goal line stops. Kenny Gainwell fumbled at the goal line, and Jalen Hurts fumbled at the goal line on the tush push, at which point Nick Sirianni yelled, "Why haven't you banned this play yet, NFL? Why are you letting me continue to do this?" Hell, Washington held Philly to like 6 rushing yards in the first half of this game.
Gainwell does not gain well.
But Commies fans, straying from party lines, would love a democracy where they can vote out head coach Ron Rivera after he refused to challenge this Devontae Smith catch that would have certainly been ruled not a catch on 4th and 4. Instead, a few plays later, Hurts hits A.J. Brown for a touchdown. This disgusting catch helped him become the first wide receiver in NFL history with 6 straight 125-yard games, breaking Calvin Johnson's record. This was a wild shootout. Howell and Hurts both go over 300. The Slim Reaper had a TD. Hell, Julio Jones caught a touchdown. And when poor Ron Rivera did challenge, he got dicked by the officials. Philly basically closed it out on, yep, you guessed it, a Sam Howell sack. First of the game, though, shockingly, and the Kirk Cousins Award in memoriam would have gone to Sam Howell, but I am postponing this award for 1 week. Get well, Big Kirko. Nobody wanted to see you go down. Howell had 397 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in that loss to the Eagles. Winning or losing stat? I think this is both. The Minnesota Vikings had 0 rushing touchdowns heading into this game, and the Packers gave up the first one of the year to Minnesota, and it was to Cam Akers who scored his first in purple. People keep calling the Packers a second-half football team, which is a nice way of saying they suck. It's like saying you're a grower and not a shower, and then growing to a full 4.5 inches. Losing stat? The Packers' 5 straight games without a first-half TD is the longest streak since 1988. Even the Giants have figured out a way to score touchdowns in the first half. Cousins tore his Achilles and is out for the season, which sucks because he was playing great in this game and pretty much every game this season. Losers? Vikings fans trying to convince themselves Jaren Hall, Cousins' replacement, could be the next Brock Purdy all week. Then we've got the Slob Wizard Award. What's a Slob Wizard? I have no clue what's happening in the NBA, but they have given me Slob Wizard, which will be an award given every week here for the rest of time. The inaugural Slob Wizard Award goes to Trevor Lawrence, who dropped this pass just over the Steelers' defense and hit Travis Etienne in stride for a 56-yard touchdown. Also, this Steelers defender definitely went to the Raheem Moore School of Timing Jumps. Maybe if Steelers fans Slob Wizard the officials, they'll get some roughing the passer calls when Kenny Pickett is getting hit without repercussion like he's Cam Newton back there. As a reward, Steelers fans, here's your weekly George Pickens highlight. Your punishment is knowing you will only have one of those per week forever. Winning Mormon? Taysom Hill. In a game with Alvin Kamara and Jonathan Taylor, Taysom Hill walked away with more touchdowns than Taylor and more rushing yards than Kamara. 63 yards on the ground for Taysom, the Storm, and Mormon Hill, and 2 TDs, plus 1 completion for 44 yards and 1 reception for 14 yards. I don't like that Derek Carr out-dueled Gardner Minshew, but I gotta credit Carr for delaying his repossession by the Raiders after the Saints tried to stop paying his salary this week.
I don't just throw a football to throw a football. I throw it so I can tell people about Jesus.
Carr was dealing, and he hit Shaheed with a couple deep balls. Shaheed finished the day with 153 yards and a TD. That was on 3 receptions, so 51 yards a catch, and it was all made possible by Taysom Hill. Don't ask how, don't ask why, but when Taysom plays well, every player in New Orleans plays better. Gardner Minshew threw his 50th NFL touchdown to Michael Pittman on 4th and inches. He also hit Drew Ogletree to give the Colts a fighting chance late. He's not perfect, but I'd still leave my wife for him if that's what he desired. Winning performer? Running back Gus Edwards. The Ravens advanced to 6-2 in a game where Arizona's defense kept Baltimore's passing attack in check. Lamar Jackson had a $157 and a TD, but Gus Edwards is emerging as the guy in the Ravens backfield. He had 140 total yards last week in that Lions ass kicking. He had 3 touchdowns in this game, all around the goal line, and he simply helped Baltimore drain out the clock with a 9-point lead late in the 4th. He's finally looking like the guy who flashed back in 2021. Oh God, yes, the worst game. Losers? Football fans in New York City, Jets-Giants. Danny DeVito took over for an injured Tyrod Taylor, and Giants fans were ready to throw mama from the train. But then Tommy DeVito rushed for the most unlikely touchdown this week. Based on my Pern Gin stats, the odds of this happening were 1 in me dating a Kardashian. Sorry, did I say Kardashian? I meant Minshew. Speaking of numbers, the Giants, up 10-7, had a 99.9% chance to win this game with 1:19 left in the 4th quarter, and spoiler, they did not win. The G-Men have allowed an average of 11.3 points over the last 3 games and have exactly 1 win to show for it. Meanwhile, the Jets have won 3 straight games, scoring a combined 3 offensive touchdowns. Oh my God, the Jets lost 2 centers in 1 quarter. Connor McGovern dislocated his kneecap. Wes Schweitzer came in and went down quickly with a Joe Burrow injury, so their 3rd string center, Xavier Newman Johnson, had to come in and finish the job.
And the new center is Xavier Newman, who was called up off the practice squad yesterday, so the 3rd different center, and right away, the Jets cough it up.
And personally, I never thought I'd see Xavier Newman Johnson and Tommy DeVito in the same NFL game, but here we are. Miracles can happen. The Giants had carefully crafted a 10-7 lead in the 4th quarter with -8 passing yards. They finished the game with -9 passing yards and the loss. So the difference between a win and a loss in the NFL is exactly 1 negative yard. The Giants' leading receiver was Darren Waller, and Matt Breida tied for 4 yards each. No, not 40, 4, as in 12 fucking feet. all of which came by the hand of Tyrod Taylor before he left with a rib injury so bad that he stayed in the hospital overnight. Since the year 2000, there have been only 6 games with negative passing yards. 4 belong to the Giants and Browns, to which I say, nice. Garrett Wilson had 100 receiving yards and Saquon Barkley had 128 rushing yards in this game. They're the only 2 players to come close to 100 yards of production, which should tell you how good they really are. At least the Jets know they're getting Aaron Rodgers back. The Giants have nothing to look forward to. Kayvon Thibodeau had his best game with 3 sacks, all for nothing. This game featured 25 punts, 4 total third down conversions, and 82,500 fans at MetLife Stadium wishing fans could get concussions instead of concessions during the game. Thomas Morstead specifically punted 11 times for a total of 529 yards, allowing just 57 total return yards, putting 4 balls inside the 20-yard line, including 3 of them inside the 5-yard line. He truly was the Jets' best player in this game.
You know, sometimes you gotta
look at that.
You gotta talk a little dirty to the ball and just tell it what to do. And it was it listened.
Punters are people too, but when they have the best game of anybody, we all suffer. With a chance to put the game away late in the 4th quarter, Graham Gano missed a chip shot field goal, which led to Zachy Wilson randomly turning it on and leading an incredible drive in 24 seconds, spiking the ball with 1 second left on the clock. And Greg the Leg Zuerlein nailed a kick at the buzzer to send it into OT. You also have to give credit to Newman Johnson, the aforementioned 3rd string center, for making sure the spot was correct and snapping that ball just in the nick of time. And when the Jets got the ball in OT following a Giants 3-and-out, they drew a big PI to once again set up Zuerlein, and he delivered with a ball that was just begging to hit the upright but snuck in. Somehow, someway, the Jets have a winning record at 4-3, and that talk about Aaron Rodgers returning late in the season gets more realistic with every win. Winning rookie Will Levis came in and did the one thing Ryan Tannehill could not do. Remember, DeAndre Hopkins played for the Titans and not the Cardinals. Will Levis cooked right away, throwing a bomb to D-Hop after D-Hop probably got away with a hug. Maybe drinking jizz in your coffee is good for you. Wait, what? Oh, it's mayo, not jizz. Ugh, gross, right? Levis tossed 4 touchdowns in his first game, surpassing Tannehill's total on the season at 2. Remember, one of Tennessee's passing TDs this year was thrown by King Henry himself. Hopkins had the first 3 touchdown grabs for the Titans in this game. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine had the 4th. And to all the Titans fans who disagreed with me when I tweeted that it was time to start Will Levis back on October 8th, please apologize by donating to my favorite charity. That would really, I think, make me happy. That charity, of course, is called I Was Right, Bitches. Winners, the Bengals, the whole team, after starting the year 2-3. Cincinnati have a winning record after handing the 49ers their 3rd consecutive loss. Joe Burrow looked like a different quarterback after recovering from his calf injury, and it was never more apparent than on this play where he avoided 3 different 49ers defenders to convert this 3rd and 10 to High T. Higgins. Burrow completed 28 of 32, and one of his touchdown passes went to Andre
Iosivas.
Yes, I mentioned that just to say
Iosivas.
Meanwhile, the Bengals defense picked off Brock Purdy twice. Brock Purdy was also the leading rusher for the Niners, which is probably not what Kyle Shanahan envisioned in a game where Christian McCaffrey was healthy. McCaffrey hasn't had a game with more than 54 rushing yards since week 4, but he scored a touchdown to keep his streak alive at 17. Joe Mixon put the finishing touches on the win with a 5-yard TD run, reminding us all that the Bengals, when they're at full strength, are a terrifying juggernaut of a team in the AFC. Losing team, the Bears. More of a back to reality situation here with the backup QB. Life is tough when you're not playing a Josh McDaniels coach team. Bajent Zero came all the way back to earth, throwing 2 picks and no tutties, although he probably should have had a touchdown on this play if not for whatever the fuck Velus Jones was doing here. Matt Eberflus now has a career record of 5-20 through his first 25 games as a head coach, the worst winning percentage in franchise history. Ultimately, of course, it's disappointing to put up a clunker in front of your home crowd if you're the Bears. You just got roasted, Chargers Social. Winning team, the Seahawks, who did indeed look awesome in their throwbacks before the game started, but then looked pretty mediocre for most of the game against the Browns. That is until Jackson Smith and Jigba scored the game-winning touchdown with just 40 seconds left with an assist from DK Metcalf. That touchdown was set up by Jamal Adams going full soccer mode and heading the ball to Julian Love. Oh, and another week we got another Jake Bobo touchdown. I love Jake Bobo because he's one of the rare Seahawks that wasn't drafted with one of the picks from the Russell Wilson trade. After 3 straight losses from the 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks are now suddenly in sole possession of first place in the NFC West. Losing team, the Texans, in the barely legal bowl. This game, for the first time in the common draft era, featured all 3 of the top picks in that year's draft in the same game. Bryce Young, number 1, CJ Stroud, number 2, and Will Anderson, number 3. The Texans dropped to 3-4 and allowed Carolina to get into the win column for the first time this season. I don't think anyone would put Bryce Young over CJ Stroud at this point, but Young did outplay the number 2 overall pick despite getting close to 0 help from a running game that picked up 33 yards on 20 carries. Andrew Beck, who ran back a kickoff this year, fumbled in a big spot that put Carolina in Houston territory. And with the game on the line and Eddie Pinero lining up for a potential winner, Houston was offside twice in a row, and then had a leaping penalty on the 3rd kick that was declined. I was pulling for you, Houston, but after you delayed this game for no reason, I now hope CJ Stroud asks to be traded tomorrow so he can go make ridiculous throws where people are going to care about it. Winners, the Detroit Lions, who did indeed pass the Josh McDaniels test, meaning they don't suck. The Raiders really are just Max Crosby right now. The Lions turned the ball over 3 times in this game and still obliterated the Raiders. It was basically their only mistakes as they outgained the Raiders' neutered offense 486 yards to $157. Hell, Jared Goff literally made Marcus Peters the Raiders' leading receiver on this 65-yard pick 6, which means Davante Adams is not just in hell, he's being asked to personally be Satan's sex puppet. He can get open, but Jimmy G cannot get him the ball. Loser? Poor Davante Adams. Many are hoping Adams gets traded away today out of this wide receiver wasteland. Not me. Oh no, you made your bed, Davante. Now lie in it with your $140 million contract. I know, Adams chose the Raiders to play with his friend, Derek Carr. Ever heard of you don't mix business with friendship? Carr, of course, was traded to the Saints, but I have no sympathy for anyone who already has $112 million in career earnings, but more importantly, who is dumb enough to choose to play for Josh McDaniels and Mark Davis. This was officially Jahmyr Gibbs' breakout game, 31 total touches, 152 rushing yards, leading all backs this week, and a TD as the Lions dropped well over 200 rushing yards on the Raiders on Monday Night Football, with an extra 74 coming from Craig's, the best blocker in the league, Reynolds. And the Lions did all of that with a bunch of injuries to their offensive line. God help NFC defenses when David Montgomery is healthy. Gibbs kept the Lions on track and helped this woman win the strongest fan honors as she just pulls Gibbs into the stands like he's a child and not a 200-pound running back. I admire your strength. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Winners and losers, Week 8. Please, if you haven't watched the Broncos-Chiefs streak-breaking, Halloween-themed recap, check it out, and come back tomorrow for Power Rankings.